Why are you laughing?
Because I like to laugh.
You're too stupid.
Oh.
Is it?
No, it's not.
Probably was very.
It was
Rats.
Don't.
Down and clean this whole wall. Look, did you see the stripe? How clean the wall is becoming?
That is pretty sick.
Isn't that amazing? Look at that, it worked. I love these magic erasers.
Okay.
It's not funny. Okay, so I think don't make fun
My
of,
heart goes out to you.
don't make fun of autistic people. It's not nice.
Now that show. All right, hit record. Let's go.
Luke, look at
What?
what you're wearing. You look like you're homeless.
I
Your
am.
shirt, can you
What?
change your shirt?
No.
Because that's too distracting.
No, it's not.
What's wrong with how he's dressed?
It's fine.
He's got a big hole in his
That's-
elbow.
It's a style.
Let me. Oh.
Is it?
No, it's talk about the rats.
No.
No, talk about the ship.
We're done with rats.
Don't.
Tell me what you know about Slav life.
What the fuck you know?
Work all day, but we party all night.
Party.
Slav life, we survive in the hard times.
Shorty.
Slav life, Slav life, Slav life. Kill you with a knife. Slav life, Slav life, Slav life. Taking over worldwide.
Hey, it's Nancy again with my brother Luke.
Jose.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. We'll finally address that. Steve,
Nick, Martin, Vuko. Go ahead.
all
Nick.
of them.
Yeah.
It was always
My
Steve
sister
Martin.
Mary,
No.
her middle name is Jean.
Bitch.
Marianne.
Marianne.
Sorry,
Fla-
thief.
Right.
Philip.
My bad.
Gilligan's Island.
Philip, he already went through his middle names.
Several times.
Alexander, no, Anthony.
Anthony.
You got
Peter.
privacy.
Right, because
Okay.
Tata couldn't find a godfather, so he told one guy, I'll name my kid after you if you be the godfather.
Yeah, you gotta shave better. Okay, listen to me.
What are you guys sit close to me? I'm trying to move away from you.
Luke,
What?
your full name is Luca?
Jose?
No.
Joseph?
No.
No! What's your
You
middle
don't even know
name?
your-
I don't know.
Philip. Why
Yeah.
don't you tell Luca?
Philip. Luca Philip.
Why are you
No.
yelling? You're 2 feet
Sorry.
away.
Yeah, you tell me. I
Um,
know. What do you want to say?
Luca, John, Jose.
Oh,
Vuko.
is that a John?
Yeah,
Joseph.
John. Okay.
Where the hell
so-
did John come from, though?
In the Bible.
Hey, maybe Tata's boss.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's what it
so
was.
Philip, Luca's.
Yeah.
You were
Or-
how old? You were
Or maybe
6?
because he's one of the four writers of the gospel.
Huh, the host is speaking.
No.
I
Matthew,
was,
Mark, Luke, and John.
I
Who
was,
knows?
I was,
Lucy.
I was 6.
Philip.
6.
Right.
6.
You were 6 years old
I was.
when Luke was born,
Okay.
and
be
Mom
first
wanted
grade.
to name him Luca, John,
Uh-huh.
Joseph, Vuko. Somehow it got effed up on his birth certificate, and it says
Right.
Luca, John, Jose, Vuko.
Uh-huh.
How did that happen?
What'd you tell him?
What happened, Philip?
I was 6.
And what happened?
What do you mean? Well, I was home. I was at the hospital. when
Yeah,
Luke
Our
was
because-
parents have this bad habit of asking the children to help them spell.
Right.
born.
So what happened, Philip?
Yeah, so you gave the doctor wrong
They never
spelling.
asked me.
You sure?
Okay.
Philip, that's what you
Luca,
said before.
John,
Look.
Joseph. How do you spell Joseph? Jose.
That's what he told him.
Joseph.
That's what you said before, Philip.
I don't think
That's
so.
that's the way I heard it from Mom.
So now,
That's
no,
okay.
look.
so my name's not
No.
Jose. I mean, my name's
I
not
think
Joseph.
it was Mary because that's
Oh, blame Mary.
right.
She's
Yeah,
not
no, 'cause
here.
that's why Mom always sent me out of the house.
Probably was Mary.
It was to get rid of me because my Tata they spoiled Mary.
No, I
Okay,
remember.
hold on
I
a
remember
minute.
when I was born. That actor says, "How do you spell that name?" And the mom says, "Philip," and you're like, Jose.
They say
Okay.
Luca.
Because the
It's
doctor
like
couldn't
Luca,
speak English.
John,
Somebody
or then
who
Joseph.
screwed up
Yeah.
spelling Joseph,
J-O-S-E.
and so now Luca's.
So that's how Luca got his name.
Okay, Steve.
My
Who
name.
cares? It's freaking
I
boring.
just thought it was weird that it's Nick, but I was born Steve Nick Vuko, and then I was baptized Steve Martin Vuko.
Right.
Oh, well, they
So, and that's
forget.
that's how it works out.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm pretty sure because that's when Saturday Night
Let me
Live
see first.
started.
You know, your name's
And
not Nick.
Steve
There's no Nick in
Martin.
there.
And
Steve Martin, you're
right. And Mom was watching Saturday Night Live, saw Steve Martin, thought it was funny, and she probably went, oh, let's call him Steve Martin.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I think they sat there and said, "Okay, Nick. Nick's what?
Well-
it's a derivative of old German, like Saint
You know
Nicholas,
I'm editing all
which
this
is
out
like
because it's very
peace,
boring.
right?
No,
Oh, then
we'll edit
Martin.
it.
Martin is like after Mars, the god
Don't
of war.
edit it.
Just use it
So
for
it's like
the
peaceful
the-
Make
warrior.
sure your belly's not showing. It's
Yeah, use it for
distracting.
like the pre-title thing.
You got a smiley face?
No, it's too
I
much.
I
Put a
like the
smiley face.
pre-title thing.
Okay.
You got a
so,
smiley face?
What do
So you
we?
put a smiley face there?
We're getting to the point. What happened? Something behind my head?
No, I just came up with a thought bubble.
Oh.
We're third grade. We're starting third grade.
Third grade. You got this. Come on. Come on, Phil. Come on, Phil. Come on, cheer him on. Come
You
on.
got it.
You
Third
got
grade.
this. Third
8
grade.
years old. You got this.
You're waiting to tell a story for a fucking week. Just tell it.
We all
Fuck's
took,
sake,
Can you
man.
spell it out?
took so long with the camera and the lights.
It was
I'm-
distracting. And you're way down.
I'm drowsy now.
So am I.
Do you want a Dr. Pepper?
No.
Okay.
Do you want a glass of
Okay.
water?
You experienced prejudice in third grade, I
Well,
believe.
later on.
You're in third grade. How old were you?
8.
8.
8. So that means
I'm a baby.
I was only 1. So no, this must be 4th or 5th grade.
She wasn't even born
Okay.
yet.
Because I was like 3. You were 2. He was 4. And Philip came home from school one day.
Okay.
And I said, oh, there he is. He's out in the wild world, outside the house. So he comes home, oh, hey, Philip. And Philip comes home, he's crying.
Okay.
He's like, hey, Philip, why are you crying? He's
How
like,
old were you, Steve?
3,
Okay.
3.5.
Go on.
He's like, all the kids at school are making fun of my accent. Right? And I was like, fuck. I'm like, we're going to have to go to school someday. So I grab Luca. I go, hey, Philip's crying. They bully him in school. They go, we have to get Mom, make him speak English to us. Because at that time, we didn't speak any English. It was all Croatian.
Oh.
So we
Huh.
went up, Mom, please speak English to us.
And she said, I don't know English.
Well,
Or did she?
then she started.
One day, I remember we were supposed to draw a picture of what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I'm like, I never thought of that. And so, they all had their little, the paper out, and, kids was drawing pictures. One was drawing a singer, another one's drawing, several was drawing astronauts. Because again, this was during the Apollo missions. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, what do I want to be when I grow up? And so I just closed my eyes. I just said, God, what do you want me to be when I grow up? And then all of a sudden, I just had this thought,
A Canadian
a
astronaut.
priest.
Sorry.
So then, anyway, I just had this thought, a priest. And I'm like thinking about it, going, yeah, that's a good way to spend your life, be a priest and serve Jesus and, be a shoo-in for heaven. So anyway, I drew a priest. It like freaked out the teacher. And
Why? Wasn't it a Catholic school?
Right. But it still freaked out the teacher. She's like going, what's this? I was like, it's a priest. It goes, you want to be a priest? I went, yeah. After I drew that picture, that's when I noticed things started going bad for the rest of us. I remember Tata started drinking because before that time, I remember Tata being like this nasty, SOB, who's always coming home. I mean, there was a time when Tata, when he came home, he was, this happy, playful guy. He used to play around with me. Later on, during my third grade, I just noticed that more and more kids, when we're going out to the playground, they weren't playing with me. They were like huddled and they were like talking to each other. And that's
Christ, he's talking.
And that's when I found out that being a foreigner was like becoming like a problem. Because around that time I used to go to the Cub Scouts, because Tata always wanted do this whole American thing. So, went to the Cub Scouts. I just noticed more and more kids was making fun of me, calling me a foreigner, making fun of the way I talk. And it started to move over into the Cub Scouts. Near the end of the third grade was when the whole prejudice really started to kick in, because there was a guy I knew in the third grade. We met when I was in the first grade, and we were living with Bob and Dita, and we used to be best friends. But then he started to, not hang out with me as much, and started telling me, yeah, did you know you're a foreigner? And I'm like going, what's the big deal? Yeah, third grade was like the last time that I remember I brought home straight A's, because back during that time, if you finished school with straight A's, you would get tickets to two tickets to 2 White Sox games, and so I always made sure that I tried to get straight A's. But it was after third grade, over the summer, Tata wanted me to go to a day camp. Basically, it was like during the summertime. And as soon as they found out I was a foreigner, it was like the same crap all over again. People just hated on me because I wasn't American born. Basically, from after third grade, for the rest of the time that we lived in Chicago, I didn't have any friends. It was just me. And eventually I started to get angrier and angrier, because I remember there's this one time when we lived on Emerald Street. I was walking home one day, and I passed by this house, and they had like an upper balcony, and some older kids dumped a gallon of paint on me.
Wow.
Right.
Paint.
Right, paint. And I remember I was walking home like that. Mom saw someone come home, and I was like dumped in paint, and she made me walk. She grabbed me, and she made me show her where I got dumped on the paint. But she saw the sidewalk with the paint splatters, and again, she went banging on the door and started yelling at the other guy's mother. But the reason why those older kids had dumped paint on me was because their younger sister I was going to school with, and she must have told them that I was a foreigner.
And what was Mary doing at this time? Did you guys go to school together?
Well, Mary was starting first grade, so her first grade experience was pretty much like mine. Bridgeport back then was known as a racist neighborhood, even though this was shortly after the Civil Rights Act was passed. I didn't have any friends at all, and the one guy who was like my best friend back in first grade, he just kept his distance from me. I'm just guessing he just didn't want whatever I was attracting to come onto him. So, like I said, Mom, on Saturdays, she always wanted me out of the house for whatever reason. It was during that time, I started thinking, does Ma even love me? Because she's always, give me a couple bucks, and just to tell me, get out of the house and don't come back till later on in the afternoon. So for the summer of third grade, I stopped going to day camp because I just got tired of going there and getting punched and beaten up by the other kids because I was a foreigner. That's when I started to go by the White Sox Park, and I'd hop on the L, and I just take the L train. And because there was one time I just hopped on the L train, and I was curious as to how far the train would go. So I started to take the train northbound, and when we got to Lawrence Avenue, I saw the Winthrop apartments that we used to live in. And then I looked out the other side, and you could see the Uptown site, the sign for the Uptown movie theater. So I got all excited because it was, a neighborhood that I knew. So I hopped off and, went to see movies at the Uptown again. And like I said before, the Uptown was one of the movie palaces. Back then on Saturdays, if they would at times have like a double feature, so you could see like 2 movies instead of just going there, watching one movie and then sitting in a seat and then watching it again. Because I just remember that when Ma sent me out of the house, she didn't want me back until later in the afternoon. And so I started to do that. But fourth grade was fourth grade was like a little bit more rougher because again they, you know, I went to the same school, and I had this one teacher. She had this attitude. She kept asking me, you know, how come the other kids don't like you and this and that. You know what's, you know, and she actually she actually said, you know, what's wrong with you?
Uh-huh.
Uh, you know, I just kept telling her, look, I'm a foreigner, and they just don't like me because of that. Yeah, but she always liked to downplay it. And it was also the time when we changed our last name from W to a V, because at the time we were spelling our last name WUCO, and I'm guessing it's Tata's cousin who lived out in California spelled it like that, and we changed it. Yeah, and like I said, I just started getting angrier and angrier because, you know, Tata was telling me, you know, you're going to that school, and, you know, make them like you, and all this other. I mean, he just wouldn't listen, and now I got this fourth grade teacher who's basically just telling me, you know, that there's something wrong with me because uh, 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 kids not liking you because you're a foreigner. That, you know, for her that wasn't good enough. But anyway, there's one day she asked me, uh, in front of the whole class. She said, "Why are you spelling your you know, you know, are you?" Well, she said, "Are you Yugoslavian?" And I went, "Well, no, I'm Croatian," you know, because it's what I got. And then she went and says, "Well, can't you spell your last name? Why are you spelling it with a W?" And then I just got angrier at this teacher, and I just and I just yelled back, "Well, why don't you, you know, go ask my dad?" But, you know, I know how to spell my name. Uh, I mean, I said something because I think what I did was I stood up to that teacher, and I just told her, you know, I know how to spell my name, but I said it with a pretty forceful attitude because I remember the other classroom, the other kids in my classroom was going, "Ooh," you know, like I was talking back to the teacher.
Did you call her bitch? Or just your tone was like that?
The tone was like that.
Okay.
Just please. So she went ahead and says, you know, I'm going to go ahead and, you know, call your father and, you know, tell him. And I says, go ahead, call my father, and, you know, tell him I'm spelling my name with a W instead of V, and this and that. So anyway, later on, I came home, and Tati eventually came home, and he, you know, he just said, you know, he just briefly asked me, so, you know, what went on at school? And I says, well, the teacher was making fun of me because we're spelling our last name with a W and not a V, you know, and she said it should be with a V. And that was that one time when I thought Tata was gonna, you know, like, you know, be a father and stand up for me. And Tata says, well, you know, don't worry, I'll talk to the teacher. And you know, I don't know how to talk with the teacher, but yeah, I think it was on a Monday when he wasn't working, you know, he went to talk to the teacher, you know, and because I remember Tata saying, you know, don't worry, I go talk to the teacher, I go sit here straight, like we spell with a W. And so Tata came home, and I asked Tata, you know, so what happened with the teacher? And he just went, yeah, we spell with a V now, okay. You know, so yeah. So yeah, and I'm like going, Tati, I can stand up to this teacher. You know?
He says he's going to take care of it. Then he comes back, tells Phil, "Oh, now we spell with a V." He didn't take care of shit.
Right. So anyway, fourth grade. Yeah, fourth grade was like the first year where I barely passed. But yeah, fifth grade was like the worst part, because in fifth grade I had this fifth grade teacher, and she actually started the school year off. Started saying, yeah, the foreigners are coming in here, they're taking the jobs away from everybody. And the guy David, who, you know, like I said, we were best friends way back then, he raised his hand, and he told the teacher, he says, well, you know, Philip's a foreigner. And I remember looking at him going, why did you, you know, because he just looked back at me, and he had this stupid smile, and I just looked back thinking, why would you even do that? I would, you know, do my homework, and sometimes she would just toss it in the trash, or and tell me I didn't hand it in. I went, well, no, I did hand it in. She got caught later on near the end of fifth grade. Mom stepped in, and mom said, stop by the principal's office, show them all of your homework that you did it, but don't tell the fifth grade teacher. And so later on, when she reported that I didn't hand in my homework, that's when the principal and her assistant found out that they had a problem. So I think she had to switch my grades around, because I think what she wanted to do was to fail me, but with okay grades. But yeah, she got caught treating me like that. But anyway, that's at the end of fifth grade. But right before the end of fifth grade, I was cutting school at the same time, more and more, just because I remember I kept yelling at Tata, saying, they don't like me. I'm a foreigner. Why are you sending me to St. David? How come I got to go to St. David, but we're going to church at St. Jerome? And I just says, well, why can't I go to St. Jerome's school? Because in my mind, or in St. Jerome's school, all of Tata's friends, other Croatians, were sending their kids there. And it just did, but for some reason, Tata kept saying, you an American, and, that's it, you're an American. And I just went, well, we don't go to an American church, we're going to a Croatian church. But yeah, I really resented Tata for making an idiotic decision. But anyway, like I said, I would be cutting school a lot, and because I leave the house, with my homework and school books, and Mom would watch me, go to school, which is right across the street. But what Mom wouldn't see was, once I was out of view, I would just walk right past the school, go to Halsted Street. I'd just cut school altogether. Anyway, there was this one time that I had cut school. I took it out, went to the Uptown neighborhood again, because it was springtime, and the weather was getting warmer, and I wanted to go to Lake Michigan. So I got off at the Lawrence L and walked past the Aragon Ballroom. And on the front doors, they had these glass doors. On the inside, they put these like mini posters or playbills. And I looked at the playbills, and it was like 4 guys in makeup, and right above it said "Kiss," and I'm like going, "What the hell is this? Is this like a circus or something?" And I was just standing there, just looking at the posters, and in the glass doors behind me, I saw a reflection, and I looked behind me. It was 4 guys with long hair, and I was pointing to the poster, and I was asking this, is this like a circus or something? And one of the guys in the band, I remember from his voice, it was Ace Frehley. He laughed and he said, no, it's our band. And I went, band? What kind of band is this? And the other guys was like chuckling. And Ace went ahead and says, well, you want to, listen? And I went, sure. And so he said, well, let's go down this alley, because between the L and the Aragon was an alley. And I looked down the alley, and there was a straight truck there, and they were unloading equipment. And, here I am just walking down, another alley, and I got 4 big guys, tall guys behind me. I'd never met, but I was just curious, and I was still naive. And so Ace went ahead and told some of the other guys that I was with them, and, we went inside the side entrance. And, I was walking out on the stage, and they were setting everything up. And one of the other guys, I don't remember if it was Gene Simmons or Paul Stanley, he just said, why don't you go ahead, have a seat right, in the front row. We'll, get our stuff together. We'll play you a song. And, I'm just sitting there. And they were tuning the equipment, finished up with the sound checks. And they went ahead and went into playing a song. And the song was called Strutter. And I remember, because years later, when I bought the album, hearing that song, and I just remember hearing the drums, and then hearing the the guitars rip, just let loose, and just having like this music just come blasting right out to me, and I just loved it instantly. Yeah, I just loved it instantly because, like I said, back then when we were going to school because of the prejudice that I was dealing with and the frustration, I was like constantly angry, and here was this music that was just and the music just it just like spoke to me. I just knew that right then and there that this was my kind of music. I like it. I think the road manager came in because I remember a bunch of girls started coming in. I was guessing they were groupies or something. And the road manager wanted to know what the hell I was doing here. And I remember Ace was on stage saying that I was his friend, and he went ahead and told Ace, look, the kid's got to go. And I was walking home one day, and Tata pulled up, and I remember thinking, why isn't Tata here? And then Tata rolled his window down and says, get in. I says, what happened? And he went, house burnt down. I'm like, how did the house burn down? So
We'll tell you, Philip.
yeah, how did the house burn down?
I don't know.